Rob, you're president of the Incoming Tour Operators Association this year. It's a really tough year. How have your members found it?
But it has. It's been a really, really tough year. It's absolutely decimated our members' business. We're all down 95, 100% on 2019. And, it's a very worrying and very stressful time. So we are strong businesses, and we do have business on the books for 21 and beyond. But as far as 2020 is concerned, it's just been a complete and utter write-off.
Because all your business comes from international markets, isn't that the case?
Yeah, exactly. So, our members market Ireland abroad, we sell Ireland abroad, and we bring people in. So whether it's for a leisure product or a conference or an event or an incentive, we're effectively bringing people into Ireland to enjoy the hospitality and attractions and hotels. And so with the travel, effectively what is a travel ban, we just cannot bring people in. It's just not feasible. Now, we do recognise the public health concerns and the need for kids to go back to school, but effectively the restrictions have brought us to a standstill.
Yeah, and you're a B2B organisation. You don't, if you like, deal directly with the consumer, or you're mainly a B2B organisation. So your business partners or your trade partners in overseas markets, I presume you're still in touch with them. And how do they view Ireland? And are they positively disposed to Ireland in the future, if and when this crisis passes?
Yeah, no, you're right. Predominantly our members are B2B, and one of the great strengths of the association and our members are the connections that they have with the international trade. They've been built up over years, they're personal connections, and those connections are going to be vital for reopening and rebuilding Irish tourism. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And since this has all kicked off, all the member companies have been really busy, constant contact with their connections abroad. Could be deferring bookings next year, servicing them, reassuring them that we are open for business. It's still going to be a great experience, and the feedback we're getting is that yes, people want to come back. They just need the certainty. From Northern Europe, from North America. When the opportunity is there, they do want to come back, and that is coming loud and clear down the trade channels. Absolutely. And for those of us who do work in the B2C sphere as well, again, there's a huge brand loyalty to Ireland and to the Irish tour operators. So it's fundamental that we can keep that alive, and we can keep the teams alive, or keep the teams on board, so that we can maintain that level of loyalty.
Yeah, and your own particular business is Vagabond, which is obviously very successful. But like the rest of the ITOA members, your turnover must be virtually at nil this year. How do you keep going in terms of keeping the business afloat, keeping sort of any staff on the books? It's an enormous challenge.
Yeah, it's an enormous challenge. We haven't taken one single tour this year, so our turnover is literally zero, and so we're working off reserves effectively. Yeah. And I suppose fortunately enough, we've come off the back of some more positive years, but it can't last forever. I think we've all got to draw a line in the sand, and we've cut back as much as we can for the moment. Unfortunately, we've had to make some temporary layoffs. Everybody is working 3-day weeks. We've been very, very, obviously the TWSS has been a great support, but since it's gone to the EWSS, that's when we had to start making layoffs. It's not nearly the same level of support that we had before, and it does make the long-term sustainability a lot more challenging, definitely.
Yeah, and that wage subsidy scheme and an improved and enhanced wage subsidy scheme, I know, is particularly important to your members. Other things like business continuity grants, and I suppose the government really should be using every trick in their arsenal over the winter months in particular to allow businesses like ITOA members and other B2B organisations get through these really lean times.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's no one size solution fits all. So, to qualify for EWSS, you need to have a downturn of 30% in your turnover. But that's completely different if you've had a turnover downturn of 95, 100%. You should be able to avail of a greater level of support, in a situation that is through no fault of our own. And, the government should be there to basically back us up on this. So we definitely, I think, we have we do need those higher levels of support. And then, of course, as you say, the business continuity grants that we need. We don't want more debt. We don't want loans. We need grant aid, and centrally organised and distributed through Fáilte Ireland. We need a very strong central funding mechanism for Irish tourism. And obviously Fáilte is the obvious solution for that. Similar to an Enterprise Ireland. I mean, if you go into Enterprise Ireland, there seems to be massive amounts of funds there, but we can't qualify for it. So it's very frustrating.
And how can you plan for the future? How like 2021, 2022? It's difficult to know when the upturn will happen. We all know, or we all pray it will happen sooner rather than later. But how do you plan for it, or is it just about being nimble and being agile so that when the opportunity arises, you take advantage?
Yeah, well, I think you have to be nimble. You can plan for certain scenarios, I believe. How accurate they will be, but you can certainly plan for certain, DEFCON situations, and so that you have some kind of solutions. And actually, I think it's very important that companies do plan, because it gives you the sense that you're taking the initiative back. If you're just waiting for the news to happen, you just feel it's kind of washing over you, and it can get you down. But if you actually sit down with your teams or your management teams and say, right, what are the scenarios going to be? What do we have to do? How can we avert the risk? It actually gives you the sense that you're taking the fight back to the pandemic, and I think that's very, very important that companies should do that, and I suppose associations as well. I mean, certainly one of the challenges we've had on the ITOA front is actually getting the message out there. Yeah. I think we're a strong association of 31 members, but it seems to be an uphill struggle as to how to get the message out there as to what we do, and the importance that the inbound sector has in tourism. The fact that 75% of tourism is international in Ireland. So it's another big challenge. Again, maybe that's something that we're working on plans for that as well. But with a bit of nimbleness within the bit of agility.
And I know your members in particular, obviously, tours around Ireland, so that your regional penetration is very strong. So those hundreds of thousands of people that the ITOA brings to Ireland every year actually enormously benefits regional Ireland. So I think that's another aspect that I think government need to wake up to.
I think the regionality and the seasonality and the quality of the visitors. So as you say, we literally travel the length and the breadth of the country. Our visitors tend to stay longer, whether it's for leisure, incentive, or conference. They spend more. It's a very high quality type of visitor, and it's a longer season. So the domestic season traditionally is July, August, maybe a bit of June. But right now, mid-September, we would still be right in the middle of our high season, all the way straight into October, and going all the way back to late April. So it on every single front, it's vital for the local rural economies and the Irish and the Dublin one.
Great, Rob. Thanks so much. Best of luck to you and the ITOA members.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.